Hello, everybody. Good morning. All right. So I think question was for many, how much higher can this market go? That's yet to be seen. But there's some signs of getting a little tired. Nothing of significance yet. Uh, there never is until it's obvious, right? Well, anyway, a few things. Took a look at SMH here because it's been leading the way higher. A lot of the tech things, whether it's the Nasdaq, X or XLK, the tech ETF, SMH up near the prior high. Big run up, and you can see the distance between the highs here. Red bar, and it breaks. But this was a power move, right? Big momentum, slowing momentum, and a lot of things on Friday had reversal days, maybe due to options expiration, but there's a lot of that at the end of the week, long weekend. We'll just see how much follow through there is. And well, there's only a couple of dots here. It is breaking the low. Um, so a 3-bar reversal up there, coming down below the lows. I think it's right at the low of that bar, that pivot there on the hourly chart. So a little sign of some correction, nothing of significant yet. It hasn't even touched minor support, let alone major support. We'll see how much this comes down or goes sideways. Look at the volatility index, which we've talked about it being low for quite a while, it's staying low. But looking at this, if you can kind of visualize this on a closing basis, it looks like a W pattern. You can see as it comes down and up, and that close there, and it is yet to move through the middle of the W there, but set an alert. Got to get ready. Right there, our internals. I was kind of surprised that this didn't move up with this advance. Breadth didn't move up. That's been the whole story of this whole advance about the narrow breadth, though. Things picked up here where the Russell started moving up at that time. But as this continued higher, it's like, what the heck's going on? Right? That should have been up here above 200 or so. And surprising, even sentiment. So kind of a negative here that the breadth didn't expand, and a little bit of a positive in that they didn't get over zealous with call buying. Now, as this ran up, as typically would be the case. Anyway, we need to see any kind of correction going to happen. It's going to break at a minimum prior bars low, right? But we've got a range expansion bar. And as we know, range expansion bars that happen after advances mark a point where the momentum is going to slow. And as we looked at, SMHs up against prior resistance, would make sense to have some kind of correction, right? How much it corrects, who knows at this point. We'll just see what happens there. Spiders, they actually came down overnight to the bottom of the wide range bar before they started creeping up. So they came up toward resistance or support, I should say. You can see the cursor down there on the hourly and daily chart. Didn't quite get down to that pivot there, which would have been below there. So stepped up. All right about there. A little been some minor support area. Look more at these overlapping opens and closes here is where it began to find some buyers. S&P's got room to run up. What's gonna get it to go up there? Money's gonna have to rotate into financials and to some extent, I think, energy, which the financials could be okay, but energy, and if you look at crude oil, it's just in this trading range here, but look, bottoming tail bars again down here, and this idea of the Fed not doing anything anymore, pause, and then some people believe they're not going to do anything, but you heard those housing starts. You heard Leesman on CNBC. He was like confused as how strong they were. So that was a little piece of information that things aren't slowing down. People still buying houses, even with interest rates as high as they are. And now we'll see if crude oil actually comes off of this low here and starts pushing up to those highs. So you want to send an alert there. SPX. Let me just check this here. Last I looked. Just a second. At 43.30. So some of that premium, 43.65. Probably these things are close. They're close. So up above 44.30. They're not the no-brainers that they were, but they haven't been hitting the numbers. So they're down a little bit. They're not no-brainers. It's not the most comfortable, easy trade. JCAP 43.70. 43, yeah. And it's about where I have my alert there. A little bit above that. The support is down here. It wasn't that long ago that we were able to get premium like down here below areas of support and above areas of resistance. Now they're relatively close. You can see how close 44.30 is. Not something that I find very enticing, but there you have it. Interest rates. Want to keep an eye on this 13-week. It's pulled back, and one of the ideas in the weekend letter, and I put the chart of the week in there. I put the video to show the process of scanning in that chart of the week there. We looked at a few things, so you want to look at that, but you want to keep an eye on this. When these opinions as to the Fed, they paused, but are they done? Well, nobody knows exactly what they're going to do until they do it. But if we see this start rising, they haven't paused. If we see this continuing to drop now that it's at support, maybe they have. So, there are opinions and there's reality. And this is what you want, what you want to look at to see if this starts rising or, staying here, maybe dropping down a little bit. The 10-year, just flat. It's just not doing a darn thing. But it's that kind of a pattern. If you look at the weekly chart, it's the kind of pattern that looks like it could go up. Since it broke the lows here, you got a big red bar ignored. You got a bottoming tail bar, retesting that, and then it pumped up, and it's just consolidating here, but it hasn't broken. So you want to keep an eye on this. Just set an alert. And futures. Saudi Arabia needs oil. Well, they already said they were going to cut production, so it kind of popped up, and then came right back down again. But so the S&P is a little extended. You see the distance between the moving averages here spreading apart. Kind of pattern that typically pulls back or corrects sideways. Sometimes things go sideways in a sloppy fashion, and the moving averages catches up. Right? So as more prices get averaged in, as you get day-to-days, going sideways here and dropping off the old prices, in this case, 20 bars ago, this starts to catch up, and sometimes that's a guide. Now, this is near a whole number. You got another one just below. You see as it's coming down here, it's got a void down to this pivot lows down here, which would be in the area of the bottom of the wide range bar. Say that accused 460, 360, 360. That's the green area down here, right? Give or take. Well, 360 is up above here. I think eventually it comes down here because that would be that's where you have the largest area of support. And at this time, the rising 20 MA. So coming down into here is where I think you'd be more buyers willing to step up. It would be a sizable pullback, and we'd see what kind of reversal occurs. And then the distance to the high here at 360, Jose, the resistance is right in your face. What we want to see, right, depending on how you view this, someone would say, well, I don't want it to pull back very much. I'd rather it just hang up there and just keep going up. Well, maybe, but if it should pull back, the deeper it pulls back into an area of support, even if it just barely makes a new high or whatever it's going to do, the distance to where the resistance is kind of far. So you've got some room to run up rather than it, just hitting there and popping back up. Now, if you mean will it come down there today? I don't know. We'll have to see how things unfold here. I think it's too early to say that. I suppose it could, but if it was to come down there, you can see that's where these pivot lows are. So look, I say it every day, just look to the left. And whether you got a couple of pivot lows like that, that's ultimately where not ultimately, that's where your major support is. It would be a deep retracement. And so, but you've got this, I guess, area, this whole area here. It's kind of wide as to, that pivot high and the pivot low. So not such a clear area of, where will it stop? Who the hell knows where it's going to stop in reality? But if it comes down here in one day, that's a pretty far distance, and buyers would likely be there. And so that's the common sense part of it, is that the faster it falls and comes down to an area of major support, the greater the potential for a snapback of some degree. So this, I guess it got to its destination. It just got there so fast. I was thinking maybe, we could get a little bit more out of this, but so far it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. It broke out. It's coming back in again, and it's right in the middle of its range there on the weekly chart. Oh, that didn't get as far as I had hoped. And Qs should pull back a bit. YM is up against resistance. And you can see it, all of those pivot highs up there. So two things, I guess, to take away from this is kind of looks like a giant head and shoulders bottom. And there's a giant neckline. So some backing and filling here that might take a little while. That could be constructive. And then, if that was to be the case, we'll see. And of course, what we don't want is to see it come all the way back down to that major support, because then that whole idea of this being a big bottom, that goes in the tank. But if it can clear that, that would be quite the event, after this this downward move and correction that we saw in 2022. Something we'll be watching for in the coming weeks as to the reaction there to that resistance area. The dollar, we'll keep an eye on. Let me just switch over to this other thing. It's a little, this layout here. It's a little clearer. Has pulled back into this area of support, these overlapping bars there. So I'm going to be watching to see if that begins to stabilize. And so if this begins to stabilize, it's going to reinforce 13-week starting to, or belief that the Fed will raise interest rates again. So currencies are tied to short-term interest rates, not just the dollar, all currencies. So if this starts to inch up, the dollar will hold here and start to move up, and gold will break through this trading range. If this begins to fall, odds are the dollar will continue to fall. I'm not so sure what gold will do, but not always a correlation as tight as you might think, but we shall see if that's the case. Oil is in that trading range. You can see USO, and I've marked off that little retest pattern on the volatility index. So we need a bit of a wait and see here. I think see how today unfolds and other news that's coming out. The Fed chair is going to be speaking. I don't know what he's going to say, anything different than what he said last week, but everybody's hanging on his words. The day-to-day breath down here, I'm telling you, this should have been spiking up to 2,000 or more on that run up, and it didn't. So we got some things to be concerned about, but until things start to crack, we'll just see what they're going to do. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Hope everyone had a great 3-day weekend. So we've had a great run, both in playing the broader market strength, ETFs, etc. And we've also been playing a bunch of catch-up trades, but into the week we've been doing a lot of selling into strength and tightening stops, expecting this pullback. And yeah, it was I think it was the biggest quadruple witching in history. There's a couple $1 trillion that unwound. And so that, yeah, it went, and, Greg nailed it 2 weeks ago, I think, in the weekend letter. Said the coast is clear, or 3 weeks ago. The coast is clear through options X. And we rarely give this is a bullish breakout. And now we're still bullish, but expecting a pullback, of course. XLM short watch. Yeah, not bad. I actually had COP on my breakout list, but I see oil and oil ETFs gapping down here this morning. But I got my alarm set on this. I think I had APA on the list. Yeah, APA over Friday's high. Breakout of a bottoming pattern and red bar ignored. And it's not going to trigger unless something's changed. And then it's a breakout. There's this little sound. So this was Thursday. I was wanting to get in this. Now it's pulling back, so it very well could set up an entry here in the next couple days. I'll be watching that. McDougall broke down, bullish gap. So it's a bullish gap over Friday's high, but it's not a pro gap. It's just a bullish gap. Pro gaps, we say, ignite a new move. This is not igniting a new move. The move is down, broke down. So there's really not much to do on that. PayPal, Thomas. Yeah, that's on my list already. I got it right here. Yeah, that was a night. And I had a hard time finding put spreads in the weekend letter because of option X. So a lot of patterns that that are good don't have weeklies. And then the same old problem, the VIX closed at multi-year lows. And so there's no premium under Thursday's low. So that would be a no-brainer put spread pattern, but I like Square better for a longer term trade. A little bull flag here. We were also talking about this Thursday and Friday. Potential big old monster double bottom on the monthly. So daily, weekly, monthly, this one's superior over Cousin Pig Home. Coher, I see it gapping up. That's actually a bullish gap on the 15. That's a bullish gap, but this run here, it's a climb up. And now it's gapping up a couple more dollars. That very well could be a short-term exhaustion gap. Jets here. That's a climb up. We actually were in it in the ETF letter on this breakout, exceeded our target. And that's a climb up. Look at distance from there to the 20. So day and swing trading. I just saw this little guy. I don't know what's going on here. Here, I'll put it in this window. NUWE, but it's coming out of a coma. Let's see if it sets up. Here's this one, AAOI. I'm assuming it's one of these AI stocks, but this gave us a setup right here. And I was not watching that. Now it's gapping up. That looks like that's short-term exhausted. Yeah, the media is really picking up on this AI thing. And, they ask people about valuations, and they're like, oh, it's because of AI and it's real. It's the biggest change. And I think one woman said in a century. I don't know. So we obviously know it was marijuana, and then that talking about marijuana. Look at this. I saw this going by the ticker. Look at this marijuana stock, CGC. It used to be one of the top 5. Look at that death trend. So nobody's talking about pot stocks anymore. Talking about tech and AI. Look at Lucy, little bottoming pattern. That looks good. I'm going to put that on a window. Lucy. That looks really good. That's just the gap. Yeah, no, now that I put my horizontal line there, nah, take that back. That would have been my first target. But I'll see how it wobbles around here, the open. SDA, total footprints of a SPAC. Remember SPACs? Nobody talks about them anymore. It's just a kind of a shell company, and then they merge into them. Climo, I don't know, this is a mess. Yeah, we have a call spread on Riot. I just said move stop 5-minute high. It's gapping out. We're the 1050s. It had a gap breakdown on Thursday, along with Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin made some crazy intraday reversal, and these mining stocks obviously track it pretty close. OWL, not a great target, but if it can get over Friday's high. MedP, McGraw, I think you gave me this one. That's set an alarm at 223. And you know, when markets are extended, we always talk about, okay, when I'm ready to get into something, what type of pattern would it be that's not extended far from the 20? And this is one of those. This over Friday's high is rested. You had a 180 reversal. Thursday, you had a nice little continuation pattern, gapped up, another bottoming tail. So this is a candidate as opposed to this spiders is nuts. I just had a 2 alarm go off TU. This is a double bottom that I'm looking to get into on a pullback. Netflix, yeah, if there's any, I think I looked and I wasn't crazy about the juice is why. I did give Tesla, but it has to go under Thursday's low because otherwise, you know, this thing is still a beast. I think so. And then a D dog, I also mentioned as a call spread. NEE. NEE. I think this might have been yours, McGraw, the, you know, another put spread idea. Clorox up alarm. We're in this, and wow. Do you see what jumps out at me on this chart? Beautiful end of day base. Look at that. Up on the day, consolidating. It didn't break out into the close, but that is incredible strength. Let's see. We already sold 1/3. All right, so let's just sell another 1/3. Let's move stop. 77.48. I had an alarm go off on hope. Let's see what that looks like. Hope. I think Alex, that was on your list. Little kind of bull flag looking kind of thing, extended buy setup. I'll put that in a window. No, it just got smacked right down. But I'll set a new alarm at 9. Oh, 9:03.